seconds of this. There you go live. Okay, we're up on Instagram. Substack is good.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Welcome to Saturday, everybody. We have logged another week behind us in the current unpleasantness, and we have moved, I think, 1 week, one packet of days closer to when Donald Trump will no longer be running things. The inevitable future where this goes the way of the dodo. And that is, I just want to remind everybody that is going to happen. That his plans, for the demise of democracy and all that, as poorly thought out and badly executed as they are, must be taken seriously. However, at the same time, one must not despair, because it is abundantly clear, and I think, Johnny Million, after you've gone away for a week and went and had a birthday weekend, happy birthday, by the way, everybody wishes you great love.
Everybody was so nice.
Oh, it's so good.
And I'll be streaming after today's show, too.
Oh, okay, excellent. Well, I will give you a post-birthday raid, as it were. Yeah, and thanks for wearing your Buy a King's X record T-shirt that I saw on stream. That was amazing. I made those, and I was so excited to have them out in the world. So there we go. We love you, Ty, and we love you, Jerry. We love you, Doug.
Right, hang on, I'm going to do a screenshot here.
Okay.
All right, no, I'm going to give you. Oh, there you go. That's much better. Hang on. Let's do that again. Okay.
All right. You're going to send that to him? Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, if I may, we haven't had a chance to talk since Donald Trump decided to go into Epstein overdrive, I guess we would just call it. Philip Ittner, by the way, will be joining us in the second hour, so we'll be talking about what's going on in Ukraine and what is seen as the curious shift by Trump and his ilk about Ukraine lately, having largely to do with the fact that I believe he was sold a bill of goods by Russia, specifically Vladimir Putin, that they were going to do him a favor after the election and make him look like a hero and really set up his agenda, and then that cadavered fairly quickly. And then
that's weird.
Yeah. And so Trump, and like I said, we'll talk about this with Phil, but right after Russia had announced it would take them 60 days to win the war if America just stood down and let them do their job. And 10 days after that is when Trump announced his 50-day pause, curiously enough. You could do the simple math, I'm hoping. And then he apparently sort of Trumpian taco reversed course 2 days ago, where he said he's shortened the timeline to 10 days from now. Largely because it is abundantly clear that they are losing, and that this whole story they sold him and Witkoff that they could win it in 60 days was a bunch of malarkey, I believe is the phrase. Now, there are also, my favorite thing I think currently is MAGA-dom in the media, from the Blase to Charlie Kirk to Megyn Kelly to others, are doing everything they can to not talk about the Jeffrey Epstein debacle. And Trump apparently is doing everything he can to make sure it is in the prefrontal cortex of every human being with a television or a computer.
He tells on himself like a 7-year-old.
Right.
He cannot stop saying the whole he likes him young. He will always volunteer too much.
Yes.
When not asked.
And what do you think that is sort of a version of affluenza Johnny Million, where he's around so many yes men and grew up rich that you just speak your mind, like you don't have to censor yourself because you can't lose your job if you own the company?
Right. Yeah. And a lot of the things are like, and this is something else I got away with kind of quietly, and he
Right,
just
he's
drops
proud.
it in.
Right, he's proud of that.
Yeah.
Like, and many people know in his New York court cases, one of the things he would go after cases where he knew he was in the wrong. He would not settle those. He would fight them a lot because it was like a point of pride that he could muscle out, groups of renters and people in his, in his circle. And Johnny Million, we have a request. Can you turn your mic up a touch, just to bring it up
Let's
a
see
bit?
what I can do.
That'd be lovely. Just tick, tick, tick. There we go. And I think it'd be okay.
I'm going to do it over here.
I don't know where you do it. It's none of my business. I'm not, where you do it is up to you.
I like them apples.
Hey, like them apples. So Trump
Vedder?
likes to,
Eddie Vedder?
yes, Eddie Vedder. Which is my favorite Pearl Jam song, He Her Haw. He Her Haw. Yeah. Creed never did it justice. They tried to rip it off. Going haw, ha, ho, haw, which is not the same thing. Everybody knows that. So I was just trying to get you while you were drinking a beverage. I was this close. All right. So Trump likes to win losing cases because anybody can win a case if you deserve to win, right? If you deserve it and you're innocent, why would you get any credit for the system works, especially if you're rich, where it works even if you're not innocent. So in his particular case, he was always kind of, and in this, this is a similar situation where if people think he's innocent of all the stuff of hanging out with Epstein, then he didn't pull anything over on anybody. He didn't outsmart anybody. He was just a pedestrian in life who wasn't in Epstein's circle. But if he can go, I never had the privilege of going to the island. Think about the phrases lately. The privilege. Even, and again, even sarcastically, you're one of the primary suspects. You don't get to do that, right? Like you and I, joking about poor people and rich people and people of middle class and, mild means going, well, we clearly none of us would be ever had the privilege of being invited to the fancy pants parties at the island, right? We can joke about that because there was never even a conversation. We're not on the list. We never would be, right? And I honestly I don't think that if you encountered Epstein doing something terrible that you would kill him yourself. But I have a feeling if you and I both encountered him, you would help me get rid of the body. And that's why I love you, Johnny Million, right? Mm-hmm. So, because I have very strong opinions about this kind of behavior when you're caught red-handed. So, anyways, the Trump's whole thing about this, it started, there was, Rasmussen has been doing polls about Trump the entire time, and he's fallen in love with Rasmussen because they always give him the most favorable rating. Yeah. And this week, his favorability rating hit an all-time low with Rasmussen at 40%. That is about, depending on who you believe or what you think is the real number, that's somewhere between 4 and 6% above absolute baseline. That the Republican never budge base that includes all of MAGA, MAGA-dom and QAnon and that crowd is about 36% of the electorate, not the populace. Also, I'd like to remind everybody, because even when we're talking about people who vote or people who are politically active, you're dealing with a subset of a subset of a subset. Everything you've gleaned about serial killers seems to be, come from the ones that you've been able to catch, right? That line in Mindhunter, which just haunts me all the time when we talk about
that
online.
Is so scary.
It's so true, because you have no idea how to catch the ones you haven't caught yet. And that's when we talk about, that's kind of the conversation about the youth vote every year, which is also a myth. But we can deal with that when the next election cycle comes around, while I'll beat that drum to death. But in the process of talking about this, there was a hum around the Epstein stuff. There was a little bit of a roll because there was a
Moon River.
Right. There was I guess, because of Pam Bondi and because of, I think mainly her, 2 or 3 appearances, because they made all these promises to release this stuff, and because of Fox and Friends' edit of Trump's hedging on releasing the files to where he went, yeah, I heard that. And they cut out the part where they go, maybe not. They cut out the maybe not. And because of that, the MAGA-dom was expecting a rollout. They were expecting this, this avalanche of evidence that's been hidden from them by the deep state, which has to be all Democrats, right? Occasionally it will be, establishment Republicans, the rhinos and whatnot. Okay. And the idea being that if Trump was in this stuff, they would have released it, right? Is the entire idea. Well, then that folds back on itself, because if Clinton was in it and Trump wasn't, and they had guilt on his side and not on Trump's side, they would release it. The problem I think that they have with, I've mentioned, and again, I don't think we have to waffle on this at all. If you're a Democrat and you were involved in any kind of the awful that Epstein was involved in, gone forever. Yeah. But one of the problems I think they run into is...
I'd have to get rid of all of my Clinton hats and Bill Clinton sweatshirts and my Bill Clinton tattoo, my Bill Clinton bumper sticker.
That's right. You have to take down the picture off your wall of Bill Clinton and the like. I don't think anybody hesitates about that. But in the case of my theory is that one of the reasons why Trump and his DOJ can't drop dime on Bill Gates, another big target, or any of these other awful people who might have been involved in things allegedly, is because the only other witness, like adult that wasn't a victim that may still be reachable or around, was Donald Trump. One of the reasons is that he was on the plane too at the same time. He witnessed as much, right? That's Chris B says, Bill Clinton sex pillow, gone. Right. Yeah, you just have to throw out all your merch.
Niedermeyer, dead.
Yeah. So, anyways, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. The only thing that might distract from the Epstein story right now for Trump is something that is going to make him arguably even more miserable, because he knows his own people won't want to talk about this.
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million.
But no more Clinton Bible.
Nope, not anymore.
Moon River.
There you go. Where have you been? Where haven't I been? So the basically
you only got one commercial, boss, so it's only about 15 seconds.
Excellent, thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
For sure.
He called you boss.
I know it's I'm both I blush and I also appreciate it at the same time.
I'll say.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So, when you're looking for a distraction from the absolute worst case in modern history that you could be tied to, short of being the driver for a cross-country serial killer, which, I mean, by the way, there is at least anecdotal evidence that Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein participated in the deaths of some of their victims. That one girl in particular tried to swim away from the island and escape. No word on where she is. It's the surviving ones that know that she tried to swim away. So don't think for a second I'm downplaying the fact that there could also be murder involved in all of this. But as simply Trump being tied to the most famous pedophile and sex trafficker in American history that we're aware of, and especially the one that's been eating up the news for a very long time, being directly tied. I mean, interviews and conversations where he said he was a fun guy and all that stuff. Writing him letters on his birthday book, hanging out with him well after he was under suspicion of stuff, friends with him for 5 years after Virginia Giuffre was working at the spa where Ghislaine Maxwell abducted her effectively by luring her to the other house. Because that's what that was. He didn't steal her. Huh?
How do you say that lady's first name, Maxwell? Ghislaine?
Ghislaine. Some people say Ghislaine. I don't care.
Yeah.
As it's one of those situations where, like, I always find it funny when news broadcasters, when they say Spanish words, they shift into a Spanish.
Nicaragua.
Yeah, Nicaragua, and but if you said Nicaragua, everybody would know exactly what you were talking about. So the tone or the accent isn't necessary to communicate it. There are a lot of words. You should hear Canadians say Mazda when there are no hard A's. I love you, Chicago, but there are no hard A's in Japanese. Right? And they're like Mazda. It's hilarious.
Have you never had a Japanese sausage?
Right. Right. Why would you assume I'm Polish just because I'm ordering a Polish sausage? Well, for one, this is a shoe store. Right. That was the old Norm Macdonald joke. Right. Why would you be racist about this? Okay. So, I don't care if you mispronounce Ghislaine Maxwell. By the way, but if you are on the news and you say Beijing and not Beijing, I'll get annoyed. Because if you anglicize all of it, whatever. But if you pronounce the Spanish words like you're vacationing there and you're trying to show off, but you don't pronounce the Chinese words properly, which would change the tonal meaning of the word. Let me tell you, the tones you use in Chinese words make them different. They make them a different word. Ma is horse, mother, scold, and a question participle. So, like, just by saying ma, you could say 4 different tones, and it's a different word.
I am now getting that tattooed on my thigh. Say that again?
Ma. Yeah. Horse, mother, scold, question participle.
You sound like Trump passing a cognitive test.
I was like, yeah, that's right. Ma. And there's only just one.
TV,
yeah. So.
Lampshade.
Right. So if you're trying to distract, where were we? Thank you. If you're trying to distract from a story where you're that connected to somebody that awful, you're hoping the news cycle will just brush it aside for you, right? You're hoping that, some outside thing will swoop in to save you. There'll be a magic peace deal in the Middle East or in Russia, and you can take credit for it. Or India and Pakistan start fighting and then stop fighting because they both know their nuclear powers and they go back to the draw they've had for a long time. And you claim that it was because of a phone call you made. Meanwhile, everybody else in the world made phone calls too. And they're probably saying the exact same thing to their constituents. But Trump doesn't speak another language, so he doesn't know that. And meanwhile, it was the Indians and the Pakistanis who were like, we might destroy the world. So let's tap the brakes here. Let one terrorist group lead us all into the absolute devastation of the world. Okay, so he's hoping for these kind of things. They ain't coming. And they certainly aren't coming when somebody like Medvedev sends a tweet to Trump, and then Trump allegedly announces, whether it's true or not is another thing, announces that nuclear submarines are going to move closer to Russia, that kind of stuff. Again, this would be the first social media war. If anything popped off from this nonsense, this is beefing, like grade A beefing, right? But the numbers that Trump wants to salvage him is the domestic numbers, manufacturing, jobs, prices coming down, right? That's honest to God, maggots wouldn't care left to right. They would even shrug off, financial support for Ukraine and Israel and these, and some USAID funding. As long as you don't call it USAID, you just fold it under the State Department and let Marco Rubio pretend it doesn't exist anymore and then run on salvaging it, which is exactly what he's going to do, people. I'm telling you right now, Marco Rubio is going to run on salvaging all of the good work that America's done through USAID by taking it over himself so that Trump couldn't destroy it. Mark my words. But in the meantime,
wow,
yeah, it's going to happen. The numbers came out this week, and they were expecting about 125,000 jobs or so, and 77,000. Oops.
It's worth
maybe
firing
75.
the person who gave you those numbers over.
And they revised down the last 2 months because they were overly optimistic, apparently, or misread it. And so they revised them down by about 14,000 per month. So we have had effectively 3 months. The second quarter, Trump's second quarter, when his plans, and usually it takes a president a few months, actually, somewhere between 6 and 10 months before their plans start being implemented and the impacts are felt. But because Trump came in like a bulldozer and intended on throwing this, monkey wrench into the system and showing everybody who's boss, he implemented his stuff more drastically and quicker than any other previous president. So the negative ramifications of the stuff is happening a lot faster. So Trump's, of course, response was to fire the labor statistics boss. Nobody's questioning the numbers. Nobody thinks they were faked or modified or they're doing it just to mess with him. Well, Trump might think that. I won't say nobody. Nobody around him, Bessent, Lutnick, any of that crowd. None of those folks think that there's anything. This is just the numbers. But they're willing to ride it out. Here's the thing. There's a thing about Trump where, like, this is all performative. This is all a big reality show to him. That's why he signs his executive orders, things presidents do all the time and sort of announce. He does these big ceremonies where there are a bunch of people standing around him like he's, and at some point, I have no doubt.
And just like all the ICE raids, that's all performative. You don't need ICE to deport people.
Nope. You do not. And a lot of the folks, by the way, they're making a big noise. That big noise isn't for us, isn't to scare Democrats and I really mean business. We knew he was going to do awful things like this to start with. The reason they're doing those raids is because there aren't anywhere near the number of illegal immigrants in the country at any given time that he says there are. There certainly aren't 25 million more than there were 4 years ago. It's a fever dream. And so you can't deport those people because they don't exist. So you've got to just make a big noise. And the people you're going to round up are going to be 4-year-olds with cancer and people working in chicken processing plants in Nebraska. And everybody's going to go, hey, hang on a second. And and there were a couple of things Trump thought would salvage him, right? They thought, that they would, that there were a couple that could save him from the Epstein files stuff. And that, first of all, they'll just throw it away. They'll just write a memo on a Sunday, on a holiday weekend, 4th of July weekend, and there's just been a big flood in Texas, and just release it then. Just throw it out then. This will eat it alive. Just like, it's like they had that memo, nobody wanted to sign it, and they were just waiting for something awful to happen, close to a Friday. Because that's really what you want to do. It's like Friday night or whatever, but it happened, the floods happened on a holiday weekend, and they were like, now. They were even late on it, I would argue. They could have done it Saturday night or something, but they did it Sunday night. And the problem with it is that the MAGA world, their eyeballs have been trained that they must look into this stuff because the deep state won't allow them and it's a big secret and blah, blah, blah. And the fact that Bondi and Bongholio and Kash Patel told them there was nothing to see here. The guy killed himself. No one else can be charged. There are no other co-defendants. It is effectively a codification of Alex Acosta's sweetheart deal with Jeffrey Epstein back in the early 2000s in a federal government document. Because that sweetheart deal not only was for him, but it would not go after any co-defendants or anyone else involved in the operation. That included Ghislaine Maxwell, but it also included any of the clients or any of the people that were buddies of his who participated in it. Because I got to tell you, I don't think, for the most part, our view of trafficking in that phrase, which is really sex slavery at this, and using trafficking softens the term around this so much that it makes it amorphous. And the people involved in it around Epstein, for example, weren't paying for these girls. He was using them to maybe grease the wheels for other business. But there was nobody wrote him a check specifically for like he was a pimp, even though he dressed like one at his time at the Dalton School. For real, he would wear a fur coat and a gold chain walking around this all-girls school he was not qualified to teach at. But there is no list of like they paid this for this. Like, I don't know, Matt Gaetz and Joel Greenberg's list of paying girls, tuition, right? That kind of stuff doesn't exist. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. I don't think I left him out. I think we're at break. I hope so. Or no, I know what I need to play. I need to play this.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
You have about 35 seconds.
Thank you. Booger.
Absolutely.
All right. So okay, here we go.
I did just learn from Ty, because I never knew who wrote Out of the Silent Planet, the song on Gretchen.
Mm-hmm.
And Ty wrote the music, and they all wrote the lyrics, but Jerry had the biggest input lyrically.
Mm-hmm.
I love the lyrics in that song.
I do too. I see the blind lead the blind in a search for the mind, and I know what they'll find. Like that. You mean the album or the song Out of the Silent Planet?
No, the first song on Gretchen.
Oh.
Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. Now Johnny Million has set my afternoon for me. Is that I got to just sit down, take out my LPs, and put on Out of the Silent
Listen
Planet.
to Gretchen again.
Yep. And oh yeah, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. I feel like I have to start from the beginning. I'm gonna go through it, because Gene Simmons is the one who turned me on to them in that article, and I think I might have even mentioned them to you at one point from that article.
No, I learned about them in college.
Oh, after?
I was at a.
Oh, right.
No, I was at a friend's. Yeah, I was in a friend's dorm, and they're like, "Oh, listen to this band," and they played The Difference, and I was like, "Wow, that's really good." And then they played something super heavy off the record. I was like, "This is the same band?"
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and that was it.
That was it. Sold. You can also play Gretchen Goes to Nebraska to Fantasia by the Disney movie, and it matches up. Just saying, it lines up with the animation, like the stomping of the characters and the moving of the characters and all that kind of stuff. So Trump is trying to distract from the Epstein stuff as however he can, and he apparently has two paths. One is pray for a miracle, almost quite literally. Like he had a prayer breakfast with the keyboardist from Journey's wife, Paula White, and they came and all prayed on him to try and exorcise the demons, and that didn't work. Because he rambled at this prayer breakfast about everything except God and his, everlasting faith or his knowledge of the scriptures or just anything that might make this seem like it wasn't just a smokescreen. And then he comes out with this attack on Hillary Clinton, and who, by the way, was apparently running the FBI during Trump's first presidency. So I don't know how in the world. You're like, we did so well in our first term. I guess so, because Hillary Clinton was running everything. maybe we should have elected her this time around. But he's hoping that something pops off that distracts. But then the numbers come in, and he throws a fit and fires the Bureau of Labor Statistics head, as if they're the one that compiles it even. You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if you're like, there are 3 people working there that skew the whole, we found out they're messing with the equation. It's like,
what about William? Ever take a look at his desk? Look in the bottom drawer.
Right. Imagine if Democrats came out and were like, this Epstein connection is terrible. The tariffs are not working. They are driving up the PCE. They're going to create, horrible inflation for the average American. He's cutting social programs, and there are going to be kids and people they're losing their rate. And we need to impeach Caroline Leavitt. That's what he's asking. That's what that is. That, just going after the messenger in this particular case. Meanwhile, the dollar has had its worst 6 months in decades. And granted, the people around Trump obviously feed him what would be traditional economic thought. That the only way you're going to bring down interest rates, quite frankly, is if the economy takes a hit. It's what the Fed is looking for. Like, because even though prices are high, we're still overinflated. We're still, because people are not buying things they want, they're buying things they need. And they're like, well, I'll just get through this and it's going to be fine. And there's only so many times you can prime that pump with the average consumer. And it's starting to wear down. And where does it wear down first? Does it wear down in blue states where all the businesses are? No. It wears down in all those counties that Trump wants to claim, like the whole country's red because there's 8 people in this county. They're the first ones who have to conserve on gas to drive to the store that's very far away, to buy goods at a Walmart because their local stores have been shut down over the years. And Walmart is having to pass on the tariff costs on a bunch of things that Trump doesn't care about. These people could walk in there, and if they needed a flat screen TV, it's going to be the same price it was 6 months ago, 8 months ago. But if they need jeans, or they need a belt or shoes for work, the price goes up. Because Trump has made carve-outs in all of these tariff situations, which is why there's kind of like a split the difference going on in the economy and the stock market about some prices are going way up, other prices are down, and so they meet in the middle, and you can pretend that there's a cooling aspect of it. But the parts that are really going up are that affect consumers. And that's why they use the PCE index. It's the Consumer Expenditures Index, which is different than just the price index, because it tracks if you usually eat beef and beef gets too expensive and you have to buy chicken or fish or canned tuna, and they can look at the price, they'll check the price and then the volume of sales against that, and that's how they know that people are having to skimp. People are making consumer decisions. They may be buying the equal number of groceries that they bought before, but they're not buying canned or bottled soda. They're buying Kool-Aid packets. And when you buy 2 Kool-Aid packets versus a 12 pack of soda or something like that, that is a significant. And if you grew up in Kentucky or West Virginia, like our dear friend Major Ojeda, you know that cycle. You know what skimping looks like. And when you start going from, you go to Spam and ramen, to the Trump world, they're like, they're eating, pork, the other white meat, and they're eating pasta. People are fine. There's a huge difference between what people can afford to buy, and if they need their same caloric intake, they're going to start making tough choices. In my house, it was sardines and Vienna sausages, because the Vienna sausages were really cheap. And you could buy like giant, because they were like cocktail pans worth of them, or whatever. You could just eat those. So I grew up, instead of buying the little tiny thing of them, you'd buy like the larger one, and then you would just keep it in the fridge, and that would be it, right? And then sardines, just canned sardines. The big ones are expensive, the nice ones, but the cheap kind of grocery store sardines are smaller. And I grew up on those. That was effectively my primary source of protein growing up at one point, in middle school especially. And so, people know. I think people, they always talk about kitchen table issues, and this is where Trump was supposed to be winning on this populist idea that he knows what it's like. Well, first of all, he doesn't know what it's like. He's never known what it's like. The guy can't ride a bike. He can't drive a car. He can't throw a football, even poorly. He's incapable of doing most of what people take for granted in their life, not just because he didn't bother to learn or he was busy doing something else, but he actively has contempt for it. Driving is something poor people do for me. That's his attitude. Drivers are things you have. Drivers operate they sit up there and turn the thing. You sit in the back and, tweet, right? He has utter contempt for that kind of normalcy. That's one of the reasons why they got him out and put him in that McDonald's and all that kind of stuff, was to push back on that image. And a bunch of people bought it. Meanwhile, he was mocking the circumstance the entire time he was there. And if you'll notice, every time he did one of those things, he would talk about how easy the job was. This is pretty easy. You do this, and you could figure this out pretty quick, right?
Cool.
Which is basically like spitting in the face of these folks, because the mechanics of doing the job aren't the hard part. It's getting up every day and doing it for that amount of money. That's what's hard. That's the struggle. And that's the part that he has utter contempt for. No question. And so when I have to say, when the numbers come out that people are losing their jobs, he doesn't think, I've got to correct for this. People, especially maggots, are starting to lose their jobs or their prospects are going down. He's like, these numbers make me look bad. We're back to COVID already.
Yeah.
Remember when there was that cruise ship off the coast of San Francisco, and he didn't want them to dock because there were 40 cases and there were on land and 60 cases on the boat, and it would double his numbers?
I don't even remember that. Like, he did so many awful things. I don't even remember that.
It was infuriating. He didn't want it because these were his numbers. These were, again, I don't know why I would have to state this. It seems self-evident. These are human lives. These people needed medical treatment at this point. And they also needed to be separated from all the other people in the boat who maybe had not been infected yet, because they'd all been, effectively sequestered in their cabins. Most of the people on it didn't have COVID. But if you kept them on there longer, more of them would. And at that point, there was no treatment for it. You just died in a lot of cases if you were up for it. And I got news for you. On cruise ships, but for your occasional party boat, carnival or whatever, most of the people on those boats are old people and young kids. Young kids who carry it, old people who die from it. That's the entirety of who's on most cruise ships, especially then. And so Trump didn't care about, oh my God, we're going to lose more lives if this boat, bring it immediately, dock this, set up a perimeter around this. I want an evacuation tunnel for the people that are being taken out who are ill. And so they are separate from everybody else, and anybody else, who will test people as they're coming off the boats, and if they test positive, we'll just send them to the hospital. They'll go out that exit. Anybody who tests negative will go out this way, and we'll keep them as separate to try and keep the numbers down as much as possible. Maybe we can isolate this and treat the people who have it and keep it from spreading. Just logical, normal stuff. But but his brain immediately went to, I don't want the boat docking, because the second it touches the dock, my numbers double. Again, we talk so much about that should have been the end of it with Trump. The Access Hollywood tape, the mocking of the disabled reporter, the friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, period. Because, and I got to tell you, there are a dozen Chappaquiddics in the Epstein story. For real. And if Chappaquiddick could keep Ted Kennedy from being president, which it did, and arguably help cause Ted Kennedy to help Reagan get elected by effectively running against Jimmy Carter, in that treasury, like literally aiding and abetting that, which was his second Chappaquiddick, I would argue. If that was one of those was enough to keep him from doing that, the association with somebody who has dozens of them, and his absolute mishandling of COVID is, they're like, well, that'll never happen again, is really the MAGA world. Or it was either, and this part I can't figure out. Maybe Johnny Million, you can help me walk through this.
Maybe so.
After all this, have we decided that COVID was a real disease released from a lab on purpose by the Chinese to kill everyone, or it's completely fake and it was fabricated by the pharmaceutical companies to put a chip in our neck? Because apparently, according to everybody on the right who discusses this,
got accused.
It's both. According to
it's both, Al.
It can't be both, and it is both to these idiots. I can't grasp it. Like, how is that okay? It can't be both. It can't be the vaccine plot has to be real, or the disease has to be real. Now, the idea that, I don't know, and I don't want to give many ideas, but it would seem to me that, like Trump and his Pam Bondi memo, you wait for something to blow up, and then you act on your plan that you've had for a long time. So the idea is that they were sitting around waiting for a pandemic, and then as soon as the pandemic hits, because they knew there was going to be some version of it, they'd try to get the chip in everybody, or try to, depending on who you ask, kill everybody who would get a vaccine. Now, I have a question. Again, this is one of those areas where I get like a brain cramp trying to figure out what the hell maggots are talking about.
You get a brain cramp. I don't have high hopes for myself.
So here, work with me on this one. See if I can figure this out. Okay. So the government, the establishment, wants to eliminate, let's say, half the population. And their plan to eliminate half the population is to fake a pandemic and inject everyone with something that will sterilize them, kill them, give them untimely death, and monitor them during the process. Meanwhile, this system would obviously not kill anybody who refused to get a vaccine and lives like the Unabomber. So the idea is that the great Pentaveret, the Illuminati, wants to kill all the people who behave, who would, be conscientious both about their neighbor and also do what's best for society and those kind of things in their mind, and also try to extend their health and be healthier and those kind of things. And they want to kill all those people, and they want to save all the lunatic fringe, anti-vaxxer, QAnon online yappers, because that's the world. So they just want to live in like gated communities with a dome over it, having Twitter flame wars with people living outside in kind of a Walking Dead environment. Is that the goal?
Yeah.
Because I gotta say, that part's always been a big hang up for me. Like, wouldn't you just create, and also you have to get a needle in everybody's arm that you want to kill, right? That's expensive. Whereas a pathogen, you doesn't need any help. You don't need to buy a needle for every pathogen. People just cough it on each other.
You're talking me into this, Hal.
All right. I just, like, it's, because maybe I've just heard too much, Roseanne Tucker, Jesse Waters, Greg Gutfeld stuff over the years, that I understand why I would mix up their ideas and plans, where I would get confused, right? Where
That's
I
a
would
lot to keep track of.
Yeah, crisscross their sort of their mishmash of conspiracy, theories, right? That I would get details wrong or whatever, but they do. They get their details mixed up, and then they don't even get them mixed up. They add them together. They have conflicting ideas about these things. And in that way,
you're pulling in all the talking points. You're in a hot flame war on your bulletin board. You gotta make sure you got all the talking parts ready to go.
Made by Barack Obama, but Pfizer, who was Susie Wiles' main client in Florida, created the tracking device that they're going to put in everybody. But meanwhile, Trump wants to hire Palantir, whose entire goal is to track every human being on the planet's data and create a master database for the federal government of everything. Forget gun regs. Forget gun registration. Let me tell you something. 2A maggots, listen to the sound of my voice. Palantir, if they haven't already, is creating a database of every gun you own and every bullet you buy. Period. And they are selling that service to the federal government right now under Donald John Trump. And he thinks that you folks who are mad about Epstein are stupid and his former followers. So don't try anything, because he knows exactly what you got. That's what the warning is going to come. Trump is at some point going to let slip. We know who's got guns in this country. We don't need gun regulations. We know every gun in the country. We've got a map of everybody's guns and who owns them and how many and who's got them in their basement. We even know where they keep them. I guarantee it. Sometime around Thanksgiving. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Where are they now with Art and Bobby?
The cough.
I don't know. Where are they now? Where's... Oh, God. There's a mass shooting.
Stand by, coming back.
In a bar in Montana, in Anaconda,
Okay.
Montana. Now, yeah,
There we go.
or yet last night, I guess.
You're
Late last
locked into the Hal Sparks radio
bar,
program, Mega Worldwide.
So I mean, you can't blame me for having a hard time picking this stuff apart. And I would say that Donald Trump is the perfect president for these folks because for his mixing up of facts and fiction, which he does pathologically all the time, and his inability to not tell on himself, which I think, quite frankly, is going to be, if we're looking for the irony, if we're looking for something that will be the salvation of this country, it's going to be Donald Trump's own inability to censor what comes out of his mouth.
Yep.
He can, and there's one thing to be like a total truth teller, and he's just very frank and honest. Because I don't think that's what people like Megyn Kelly will say in his defense. I'll go more blunt. I don't think he thinks he did anything wrong. I think he thinks that if we weren't so politically correct, being friends with Jeffrey Epstein, going to the island, sleeping with the girls he had around him, I mean, they showed up. Read Alan Dershowitz's column about lowering the age of consent to the age that a girl has her first period. Right. That if they could speak freely, the way they do amongst themselves, the way they do on the bus in Access Hollywood, the locker room talk that they're talking about all the time, he believes he feels entitled to speak like that. That's what's going on. And ultimately, as his brain turns to tapioca more and more every day, as this scandal ages him, because, again, the man cannot feel shame, but he can be embarrassed. As he gets embarrassed by this and embarrassed by the money lost versus what the tariffs are taking in, the trillions lost in the economy versus what the tariffs are taking in, and the billions, which they always do and always have. The crisscross, the jobs numbers themselves going down, and the revising of those numbers, that's embarrassing. Is he ashamed? No, because he doesn't. You'd be ashamed if you cared about the jobs. You'd be ashamed if you cared that people are having to spend more to feed themselves and their children. You'd be ashamed if you didn't just think this whole presidency was about an ad for your golf courses.
They love him in Scotland.
Yeah. He cannot feel shame, but he can be embarrassed. And this is becoming embarrassing. He is losing control of this narrative. But the way he thinks he's going to regain this narrative, and I don't know that anybody's discussed it like this, and maybe I'm the first, and I don't know why, but it's this has to be made abundantly clear, is that Trump is proud of his time with Jeffrey Epstein. He's impressed by the people that he hung out with and what he got to do under the radar and how society doesn't know the fun that they had together and all the stuff they got up to. And he's proud of it. And at a certain point, his ego is so weak that he even has to admit that stuff, knowing full well society does not feel that way because he's proud of it. He thinks if he's proud of something he did, evicting a family, not renting to black people with his dad, in his first job working as a landlord in one of his dad's buildings for covering his dad's building. He wants to be proud of that stuff. That's what the upper crust does. That's why when, Republicans talk about elites and start throwing the phrase elites around, it's just hilarious, especially when it comes from the Senate where everybody's a millionaire. But Trump, at one point, they said, we're really the elites if you think about it. He couldn't even buy into the bread and butter diner working class analogy sales pitch that they're telling him to go with, because he has contempt for poor people. He loves the poorly educated because they're so easy to manipulate. And he is and what will save us in this situation, I'm dead serious, is that he thinks he should have the right to brag about his time with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the flights they took together and sharing private planes and sharing women. He's proud of it. He's impressed with himself. These are bro stories. And at some point, the conversation, the locker room talk that happened on that bus is going to happen at the presidential podium. In many ways, it already has. Did you see what he said about Caroline Leavitt, Johnny?
No.
At the end of an interview on Newsmax, they asked her about Caroline Leavitt. This was at the tail end of it. Caroline Leavitt, another blonde, age inappropriate young woman that works for him. That a lot of people talk about how if her cross is showing or her cleavage is showing, that is part of the message handling for the day. Towards the end of the interview, when he's talking about this, he was asked by Rob Finnerty, I can't call him by the name I call him when I'm doing my live stream, about Caroline Leavitt. And he said, she's become a star. It's that face, it's that brain, it's those lips, the way they move like she's a machine gun.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And then he goes, is she in the room? Yeah. And then he goes, she's a star. She's great. She's a great person. Actually, everything he said about that was she's a great person, actually. I'm kind of joking about her physical person, but I don't think anybody's ever had a better press secretary than Caroline. She's been amazing, right? He throws in this cover at the end. It's that face. It's that brain. It's those lips, the way they move like she's a machine gun. I mean, it sounds like lyrics from a song that was banned from the radio.
Yeah.
Her lips move like she's a machine gun. Why can't you just say she talks really fast? She talks so fast. I would stumble over myself, the way she's able to. But nope, it's that face, it's that brain, it's those lips. Face first. Brain is cover, lips is the truth. That's how his brain works right now. If you want to follow what he's going to say over the next few months and maybe a year and a half or so, as his brain continues to turn to tapioca, that's how it's going to happen. He's going to say something uncomfortably true about what he really thinks. He's going to cover with something that is politically correct and obviously, safe to say. And then he's going to lean into what he said in the first place because he feels ashamed for censoring himself. Because again, he is proud of the awful he did with Jeffrey Epstein. He's proud of his relationship. That's why he couldn't kick him out for, quote, being a creep, because they used to party together. That means you're a creep too. He kicked him out for, quote, poaching employees, for stealing his employees. They used to work for me and now they work for him. No, underage girls can't work as prostitutes. They are being trafficked. They are sex slaves. They are being abused.
That's another thing of him telling on himself. And was he saying that Jeffrey Epstein was stealing those girls to be part of his ring?
Well, that's the part that is left unclear, because the only obvious thing is, like I said, if they sold your accountant, you'd kind of go, hey, I had a great accountant and he took him from me, and then he's got such. I never was able to catch up, right? Because it's really hard to find IT guys like that. These are locker room attendants, underage girls being locker room attendants at the spa, which is hinky to start with. And he was like, he stole employees away from me. No, he didn't. They may have been employees on the books at Mar-a-Lago, but he sex trafficked them. At that point, from the moment they walked out of that, they might as well have gotten into a van with a serial killer and disappeared. None of Ted Bundy's victims' bosses said Ted Bundy stole her from me. Right?
Yeah.
They didn't go work at a spa at Epstein Island. And the way Trump talks about it, it sounds like, well, the only other answer is, well, obviously, whatever they were doing for Epstein, they were doing for you. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million. And of course, Philip Ittner joining us live from Kyiv right after the break. Now I think, let's see if we can get...
Whoa.
There you go. You hear us okay, Phil?
Yeah.
Hey, Phil.
Yep. Hear you fine.
Mm-hmm.
You sound good.
Good.
I
Don't
see
ask him
yet.
how he's doing. Don't ask him.
I won't. I'm learning.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, I gotta open this up. Open that. Mm-hmm.
Are you bringing his video in?
Yeah, he's still fidgeting with something, so I don't want to.
Oh,
wait till
okay.
he settles into his chair.
Whatever you got me, though.
I do have you. I just have your right
Oh,
shoulder.
we got you. That's the tastiest part of Phil.
Is it?
Yeah. If you're to butcher him, the right shoulder is really, that's where the sweet stuff is.
That's right. It's it's not all sinew, but it's not overly
Tom, or
soft.
I can't even eat her.
Mm-hmm.
I know Phil has muted himself because he's laughing so hard.
That's probably it.
That's got to be what's happening. You think that's it?
There he is. All right, I'll try to. Hey, oh, look at that! Somebody's got a standing desk or a moving desk.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that the chair? There you go. Okay, just opening up a bunch of stores. Mm-hmm. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll bring you in. There we go. Hey, look at that. It's working. Woo! There he is.
Yay.
And then on this guy.
I like your hoodie.
There you go.
Yeah, let's see if I can open this guy up a little bit. Yeah. Open it up. Yeah, I had this. I don't know why this framed in lower. There we go. It's very curious.
Looks good.
Yeah. Okay. Wee. Right. Tell them I've been messing around under my desk. Thank you. You can tell I've been messing around under my desk because I'm taller than I am normally in the frame because my camera slid down while I was this thing. Where'd it go? Yeah, here it is. This thing was running two of my monitors on a USB thing or whatever.
Oh.
Took a giant shat and was making all my other monitors blink during the broadcast. Like they would just kind of go in and out as they cycled.
I hate that.
Oof. Grumble. While you're doing the live show. Like, and I would like to say for the record, for the who's at home, I hope you didn't notice too much. A little bit, maybe, but not too much. A little bit. Yeah. Let's see, open this up. I'm getting mixed stories about India and Russian oil because it seems I'm getting conflicting stories. Phil, on that.
You're listening to
Depends
the
on who you
House
ask
Sparks
or
radio
read.
program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at housesparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn puss-faced little pimpstick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome to the show, and welcome Philip Ittner, live from Kyiv, host of On the Edge, a show you must all check out on YouTube. Go to @Philip Ittner on YouTube and subscribe to the channel as soon as you can, because the insights and the conversations that they're having on there are crucially important to humanizing what's going on over there, while other people throw numbers around. These are human lives, and I'd like to I wouldn't say dedicated. It's like wrong to sort of commandeer the circumstance, but this goes out to the Lamakov family. There's a man and his wife and his pregnant wife and their 2-year-old kid who were killed in in Ukraine in a Russian drone strike day before yesterday. And one of the many civilians that are being struck as Russia strikes apartment buildings and and office buildings, just in the most depraved way. With the most, I think, I don't know, I want to confirm this, but yeah, Russia launched 6,129 drones against Ukraine during the month of July, smashing the previous month's high number. This is the largest number that they've ever sent in, right as Trump is saying, you got 50 days. We're going to take questions also from Phil, but first off, Phil, what's the scuttlebutt there? What's what's sort of making the news around Ukraine?
Well, I mean, the increasing amount of drones that are being produced in Russia and then being shot at Ukraine is, I don't want to say it's becoming unstoppable. Mm-hmm. But they're really overwhelming Ukraine's air defense, and they've got these Shahed style Iranian drones that are about 5 feet tall and these massive wingspan, and they can just produce these things. They're getting to a point where they can produce, thousands of these a day. Mm-hmm. And that means that they can overwhelm Ukraine's air defense, and that means that they're getting through. And then you add to that the ballistic missile capability that the Russians are building, which is normally would not be as difficult to stop because of all these other drones that are being shot at them. These missiles with a really large payload mm-hmm. in their warhead, they're now getting through because of the other swarm of drones, and you've got cruise missiles that you're dealing with. So the Russians are getting through Ukrainian air defense, and they're causing an awful lot of harm and danger and damage all around the country, not just close to the front lines, but here in Kiev and other places around the country. And it's this constant onslaught of mm-hmm. Attacks that overwhelm Ukrainian air defenses. So, Ukraine is been mm-hmm. promised a bunch of air defense, and they're getting some of it, but not enough. Right. And they need a variety of different types of air defense for the swarm of drones, for the high heavy payload warhead missiles mm-hmm. that are being thrown at them, and the cruise missiles that are still coming our way. Mm-hmm. So they continue to be pummeled. Things on the front line are not great. They're not terrible, but they're making advances. and it's taking a
Yeah.
toll on
There's also
folks here.
so over the Russians canceled their naval parade because of Ukrainian drones and insider drones, I guess, seen in the area and hitting stuff. There was a giant pipeline that the Ukrainians struck as well, and then there was this huge cyber breach. The Ukrainians did a massive hack on Russian intelligence in the Crimean region. We discussed it a little bit on the in the middle of the week, but it turns out over 100 terabytes of data were taken. Included where bases are, where munitions are being stored. Really crucial high level intelligence, but also the location of somewhere in the order of like 20,000 kids that had been taken from the area. That they were tracking, that they were tracking where they had sent these children and were holding on to them originally, with I guess the theory that these kids are from here, and so we'll bring them back here with their Russian family. We'll sign them parents, and then we'll bring those kids back here, and we'll use them as basically human shields along with their adoptive parents in the future. But it allows the Ukrainians to now know where 20,000 Ukrainian kids are of the 60 or 70,000 that are still missing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, this is not to say what I kind of made a summation there.
Yeah.
Is not to say that Ukraine doesn't have an answer.
Yeah.
Ukrainians are continuing to fight on the battlefield. They are putting up a savage defense. They are making Russia pay for every single inch that they move along the front line. Yes, the Russians are advancing, but they're taking a heck of a cost for it. And in addition to that, not only are they fighting on the front line, the Ukrainians, but they are taking the war to Russia. So they've got cyber attacks. They have their own missile attacks and drone attacks that concentrate on the oil industry, which is unfortunately still being active in the shadow fleet. They're still exporting, and you briefly mentioned India there. I think India is going to stop taking Russian oil and gas very soon because of the consequences of what that means. China is still a problem, but internally within Russia itself, they are still hitting weapons production, oil and gas production, command and control, logistics. The Ukrainians are not passive in this. It's just that they are without the air defense that's been promised to them by the West. They're taking a beating that hopefully can be stopped if we can give them more air defense. But that doesn't mean the Ukrainians are just going to sit there and passively take it.
Right.
So they are absolutely responding and hitting Russian infrastructure while they're getting battered on the battlefield and in the cities of Ukraine.
Yeah, the Ukrainians also hit the Russian Shahed air base, which is where these drones you're talking about come from. And I wanted to look. So a couple of things people had questions about right away, and we're also going to farm some questions from our viewers online in the chat room and the like. Johnny Million will be looking for those for you, Phil, over the next little bit. But a couple of things, and I want to get your reaction to it. One is there any information about how the Russians are responding to the earthquake that happened there? Did that have any more than them throwing a pity party for themselves, or did it have any kind of an impact? And then secondly, let's just start there.
Yeah, that's hard to say because, of course, they're not going to openly admit that they took damage from this 8.8 earthquake on the Richter scale. And I'm a San Franciscan. I've been through my fair share of earthquakes, and an 8.8 is no joke.
Right.
In Russia's far Pacific east, they had this massive earthquake. They have, it's my understanding, it was not the primary naval base down in Vladivostok, but it was a base north of there that took some very serious damage given the satellite imagery that we get from there. That an entire docking structure, an entire pier, basically, was destroyed or thrown off of its pylons because of this 8.8. And that's it's Russia's Pacific Fleet is tricky because it's not really strategically important for them. It does allow them a warm water port,
right?
But because you cannot support. Well, you can, but it is incredibly difficult to maintain the Pacific Fleet from the railway system that exists, the Trans-Siberian railway system.
Right.
Even the industrial railway system that exists going through Siberia from main Eurasian part of Russia. So their Pacific Fleet has always been kind of, yes, it gives them access to a warm water port. Yes, it gives them access to the Pacific.
Right.
But it is of their four fleets that they have.
Yeah.
It's the most difficult to support.
Right.
And it is, while strategically important, I would argue not as important as their Black Sea or their Arctic, or even their Baltic.
Well, okay,
fleet.
so
the Baltic fleet is now even problematic because of Finland joining NATO. So
let's take a break. When we come back, what I will ask you about is the second part of that, which was the Medvedev threats that have allegedly led to Trump sending nuclear subs closer to Russia, and how we'll discuss the rampant maggot freak out about, I thought he was going to be the peace president. When we come back. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk, with our dear friend Philip Ittner, live in Kyiv, and Johnny Million farming questions from infotainmentwars.com, twitch.tv/Hal Sparks, and of course all of the other sites. Short Instagram and Substack, where we're on as well. We'll be back right after this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Medvedev stuff, it just is one of the most ridiculous, pissing contest situations. But again, Trump is reacting to it as if it's real. Can you imagine if he started seeing? Well, we'll talk about this on the show.
my take is it's pretty performative.
I completely agree. It's performative. Thank you. Until it isn't.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show. It was hard not to start the conversation during the break. But your thoughts on a little bit of history on Medvedev, if you don't mind, because I know you're maybe aware of more details about this dude even than I am. And then, of course, for those that don't know, Medvedev and Trump have been throwing shade at each other, where Trump perceived that Medvedev threatened America with nukes, basically talking about the dead hand, or what would effectively be a dead man switch, that if you nuke us, our missiles will automatically attack you, which is just the essence of MAD anyways, left over from the Cold War. And Trump took that as a direct threat because he's stupid. And in his stupidity, he's allegedly moved nuclear submarines closer to Russia. Thank you.
No, but it's Dr. Strangelove. It's no, Lexi. I do like talking to you.
I like talking to you. Yes, we're both sorry. We're both very, very sorry.
We're both very, very agree. It's with if you replace those personalities with one who's kind of desperate to be relevant and is a bit of a sad sack in the case of Medvedev, and a man child in the form of Trump.
Yeah.
But it is still that mentality of like petty little men playing out very serious big body politic geopolitical things. And as we said in the break there briefly, it's very much performative until it isn't.
Yeah.
Until these petty little men with their petty little egos and their petty little other things, take us into the brink of nuclear war. Now, to be clear, let me be perfectly clear. I think there's enough surrounding both of these individuals that cooler heads will prevail. And Russia loves to wave its nuclear saber. I do not think that the petty little egos of Donald Trump and Dmitry Medvedev are going to take us into nuclear annihilation.
Right.
Is it an impossibility? No. Is it likely? No.
Yeah.
Because everybody around these men know how small and petty they are, and they recognize that
even beyond
mad
that
is still a thing.
Yeah, I also, and even beyond that, when you have people who can't wait to meet Jesus or Allah or their God of any sort running things, you can worry about that they might blow up the world. But when the world is being run by self-involved hedonists, I think the one silver lining is that they can only enjoy life when they're alive. And they don't really care about legacy. Those are empty words to them. They want pleasure and riches and opulence and, visible signs of respect from people or fear. And that's what is their driving force. So you can't destroy the world and get it. Like that's always the problem. If you're going to get wiped out too, you might die in the exchange. That's your last trip to the island in Trump's case, right? So that I think is the one thing we have going for it, is that neither of these guys are true believers.
Yeah. I'm not. I mean, even. I mean, these poor. I guess he moved 2 submarines.
Yes. Allegedly,
to a strategic. Allegedly, 2 submarines to a strategically important area within Russia's, sphere of control, or within strike range of these U.S. submarines. I even feel. I feel bad for these poor sailors,
right?
That are just being played.
Right. Well, they're going to be underwater in a sub no matter what. Those things stay underwater for months at a time.
Yeah.
So, right.
And that's their job. And they know it. And I'm not, it's not a pity party, but it is kind of like, come on, man.
Yeah, right. This is what we're doing.
Put these guys in these subs with real life ramifications. Like if this, if they do decide to go the Dr. Strangelove route. I mean, these guys are professional sailors. They are submariners, and submariners are a special breed, and they absolutely will do it at the command of the commander in chief. But it's like it's so childish and informative, and these are men and women who are professionals at their job, and
I completely agree. But I think you're also going to run into it.
Reasons.
Yes, I totally agree. But this would not also be the first time, and I think a lot of people in the military are aware of this. That you're sent for something like, what is this dog hunt they're sending us on, and then it blows up into something much bigger. You're sent on a as the vanguard to some act of stupidity like the Iraq War. and you didn't realize that that's where you were going. You just thought we're just posturing, so I'm being moved into position. That's happened many times, not just in our military. That happens all the time. The Russians went through it multiple times as well. You can argue that that's what the Wagner group became. Like, just send them in there, and we'll basically wait till they kill one of our guys, and then we'll send in even more and take whatever we want in revenge for the force that we, extended towards these people. So I don't know if we have questions yet, Johnny Million.
We got a couple.
Okay, yeah, let's grab one before we start heading into our first break, because I know I will ramble on about these other things, because I do have a couple things. Other things I want to talk about too.
I've got one from Ed's 3D Tech. Can you ask if drones are also being made in China and North Korea?
Not so much North Korea. Elements and kind of, chips and things like that. They're coming from China.
China, yeah.
But it's mostly the Iranian or the Iranian clone factories that are being established in Russia that are actually doing the entire development of drones. And North Korea is a non-starter when it comes to the drone kind of components and things like that. North Korea is providing missiles and artillery and soldiers. Really, the ones that are doing the most when it comes to drones is either domestically, internally within Russia, using maybe components coming from China, but it's the Iranians more than
the Iranians
else.
The Iranians are sending the Shaheds, the big ones or whatever. But one of the things that came out in a report recently was, and maybe this is the part where me being a China watcher helps, is that China was busted sending engines, not just circuit boards, but engines in for drones, and calling them cooling units. Because they have fans in them, because they have the blade systems in them and the turbines that are in there. They ship them to Russia under the guise of these are cooling units, and the Russians, they're engines for drones. They're Shahed-size drone engines that they were sending in, and the Chinese were saying these are just fans. And they're full propeller systems. They basically could power a light aircraft.
And my understanding also guidance systems and chips and things like that. But they're sending components. Right. Iran is sending actually
the
drones,
whole thing. Yes.
And then obviously also there's a domestic production line inside Russia that uses Iranian technology.
Right.
Uses the components that are coming from China, and then they put it all together. And then shoot it at us.
Yeah, China's response, by the way, when they were asked about the drones, the drone engines that they were selling, was we take great care in making sure that when we send dual use possible things, and also these sanctions are illegal because they're not recognized fully by the UN anyway. So buzz off. And for those of you that don't speak Chinese, that's a confirmation that they have been sending drone engines to Russia, and they will continue to send drone engines to Russia, and everybody can go pound sand. They've been doing it all along. They will continue to do it strictly for the monetary aspect. They have, they have no ill will towards the Ukrainians particularly, any more than they have any real support for what Russia wants. They just need the money. They will sell it. If they can get away with it, they'll sell it to anybody. Anybody who's taking, Uyghur Muslims and selling them on the open market in Southeast Asia, which they're now doing because they couldn't use them in the factories, the Apple factories. Once, the Foxconn factories, when they found out that was happening, they shut it down, right? The Western companies were like, you can't do that. So you think those people just went back home? No. China sold them in Cambodia. And they will continue to do so. And if anybody asks about it, how dare you ask? You had slavery in the 1800s. So, this is, Russia will get whatever they need from China as long as they can afford it. That's the key.
And have some geopolitical, strategic and security concerns that, as an adjutant to that, because they don't want to see Russia lose as badly as they potentially could lose, because that'll mean bad things for them as well. But yeah, absolutely, it is. We're going to keep doing this because it benefits us.
Yeah, I feel like they're just going to run into Russian pilfer gangs.
Yeah,
is going to be their biggest problem. It's like people right across the border in Russia as it becomes a failed state, basically living on the other side of a fake sovereign line that no longer exists because the country doesn't really stand on its own. It's a failed state right on their border, and it's a ginormous border. And the people that are in there will just do raiding parties into China, steal stuff and people, and then go back, and it'll be an international incident if they want to go back and get the people, or it'll be all out like, low-level militia war forever around that. And then what does that do to the North Korean, China, Russia border, that little tri-state area that they deal with all the time? That gets really murky really fast if Russia isn't there to play its part in holding the line on the outside of it. One of the things that the North Koreans and the Chinese count on is that if North Koreans are trying to escape, if they go through parts of the Russian territory, they will be sent back or blocked by Russians there. Well, if that falls apart and there's nobody manning that anymore, like the guys who used to, guard the potato shed outside the nuclear facility in 91, what does that do to Kim Jong-un's people? They're going to stampede through that, and you're going to see a bunch of Mongolians who suddenly speak Korean. Flooding the area, right? I'm Mongolian. This is where my people are from, right? And they won't be wrong.
They don't want the instability,
right? Yeah. So there is they're going to keep sending this stuff there just to prop Russia up because they're playing both sides of this, and especially Zhang Youxia is the military leader of the PLA right now. And he's basically who's running the country right now, according to, my sources and other people in the country and people who talk about this issue. And Zhang Youxia, as the military leader, is the guy, and we got to take a break, but would be the sort of soft successor to Xi Jinping, and whoever gets in his role would follow his lead. So we would have a situation where, once again, like under Deng Xiaoping, the country is kind of run under a military junta with a veneer of leadership over top of it. And that could either be terrible on a massive scale because of the guy's military drive, or it could be better because of his realism about, we don't need Taiwan, we got enough land to cover and deal with it ourselves, and I'll let this guy try to sort out the economy while we'll build ourselves up, and I pat myself on the back. So, fingers crossed, but nobody knows, especially the Russians. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this with more with Philip Ittner and Johnny Million on the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It always reminds me of that line in Spies Like Us.
Every minute you don't tell us why you're here, I cut off a finger. Mine or yours? Yours.
Damn. What's your objective? My objective? Well, I object to taking a girl out for a nice dinner and then she won't put out, Let that be a lesson to you. Why are you still hitting me? He's going to cut my fingers off. Why are you here? To assassinate your premier. I knew it. Pay up, comrade. Which is one of the greatest subtle jokes in Spies Like Us. Pay up, comrade. That sounds like the name of a comedy novel about the Cold War. Pay up, comrade. Oh, and hey, hold on. This is, I don't know, I'll try to even take this, but one second. Drink, open up, silly. Yeah. That's it.
Back in 20.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. No. Translate this. Translate your English.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So, Trump apparently, I don't know what this where this number comes from, because again, Russia's casualties are over 1 million. The Ukrainians maybe as high as 300,000 or more casualties in this, and a lot more civilians certainly than the Russians have lost, if the Russians have indeed lost any to speak of. And Trump said, in January, this was his number. This is 1 million. We've crossed the 1 million point. And in January, Trump said that Russia has lost 20,000 soldiers in its ridiculous war. In July, the U.S. president said, he also said the occupiers had lost 112,500 soldiers since January of 2025, while badly damaged Ukraine had lost 8,000. Now, I would argue that's probably 80,000 on the Ukrainian side, very possibly, but that it's 1,012,000 is really what the one. And maybe he's just missing zeros in this situation. They could be solved. It could be as simple as that. But the idea that Trump thinks they went from having lost 20,000, which was apparently the number that he thought was happening in January, to now since January, they've lost 112,000, totaling 130,000. Meanwhile, we allegedly have 25 million illegals in the country running all over the place, right? That they can't seem to find, even though they're in giant hordes everywhere. And they're all insane. So apparently their mental illness is that they can keep their mental illness really quiet, unlike the rest of us. That seems to be that's what makes them insane in this society.
Well,
but he says
somebody needs to give Grandpa his Adderall,
and
his blankie, and turn on Matlock and let him just kind of
right. This is it's so all over the place. It's hard to grasp, where he thinks. 20,000. In that month, Russia's lost 112,500 soldiers since the beginning of the year. That's a lot of unnecessary death. Ukraine has suffered greatly. Obviously, the beginning of the year at that point, if they'd lost 112,000 when he initially said that 20,000 number, and you're talking about the month, that's friggin' insane. It's twice the number of casualties as Vietnam, in a month, and yet he's like, I don't know, it's kind of a wash. And now apparently, maybe it's just, Marco Rubio came out with, basically chastised Russia with the 1 million number. Finally, somebody said it in an official capacity, brought it up that they've lost 1 million people trying to, get land the size of a football field while torturing other human beings and stealing children. And anybody that doesn't think they're war criminals at this point is insane. Or in with them is a fellow traveler. But Trump seems to. I mean, the dude's lost anyways. It's amazing. I've said before, but everything he said about Biden is true about Trump 10 times over. Yep. His brain is gelatin at this point, and the Epstein thing is definitely aging him faster than anything else we've ever seen, because he doesn't care about anything else really. But do you think? This is the part that's up in the air, and then we'll take more questions. I know that the chat has for you, but do you think that Trump feels like he was promised that Putin would shut down the war, like that they actually had a conversation where he's like, look, you get in, I'll help you shut this down, and then your agenda will be gangbusters, and we'll help each other out, and you can relieve my sanctions, and I'll da-da-da-da. Or, because he said he was being tapped along. That was Trump's thing, which is weird. And that would give the illusion that Putin had given him assurances somewhere that I'll help out. Obviously it wasn't true. But do you think part of where he's turning right now is because it's taken him this long to wake up to the fact that he's been had, and it's really about his ego now and not about the lives of Ukrainians?
I mean, that entirely possible, but it's an indication of how disconnected from reality that he is. That he would
Right.
think that Vladimir Putin would do him a solid.
Right.
Oh, Vlad's going to do me a solid. We're going to
Mhm.
be okay. Well, because I will exert my pressure as the president of the United States,
Mhm.
and in addition to the fact that we're buddies, we get one another, we understand one another. Putin doesn't have any of those metrics. Putin cares about one thing and one thing only, and that is the ascendancy of a greater Moscow, that it reasserts itself as as an empire,
Right.
with Ukraine as the building block of said empire.
Right.
So if Trump did have that kind, and look, I'm not saying he didn't. I
Mhm.
mean, he did the whole, great big love letter from Kim Jong Il.
Right.
That was serious too. He does not understand how these things work.
Mhm.
So for him to think that, like, I'm just going to call up my buddy Vlad, we're
Right.
buddies, we're pals, we're on the same wavelength, everything will be fine, is just the height of
Right.
ignorance and
Yeah.
a lack of understanding of who Vladimir Putin is. And I've seen people say, like, "Ooh, Trump is waking up to the fact that
Right.
Putin is a player, and Putin is, manipulating him, and he's not going to like that."
Mhm.
I don't buy into that either.
Right.
I think that if Putin were to call up Trump tomorrow and say, "Oh, Donald, you're the best guy ever, and I totally am going to take every consideration that you have into my decision-making process," Trump would fall into it again,
Yeah.
because he doesn't understand who he's dealing with. He doesn't
Right.
understand what kind of a man Vladimir Putin is, or for that matter, beyond Putin himself as an individual, the fact that Russia is an empire that is trying to reestablish its dominion over its former colonies
Mhm.
goes beyond Vladimir. Oh, Vladimir, to call you, we're going to make this great, we're going to art of the deal this.
Right.
There are things that are, Putin is, everybody talks about Putin as this, dictatorial manager of his country, and he is in many ways, but he
Right.
is also beholden to the power structure and the power elite of Russia. There are lines that he cannot cross. There are things where he is beholden to people who are very powerful internally within Russia, and also the will of millions of people. So
Mhm.
it's the idea that Donald Trump thinks that he can just call up. I'm going to call up Vlad. We're going to figure it out. Be fine.
Yeah.
We'll work it out. It reveals an ignorance of what's going on that we
Right.
should all be concerned about.
Sure. I also think it's still clear with him too that Trump thinks of himself as a deal maker. He thinks of himself as as the master in this situation. And the one reason why I think he might not, there's a line where he won't fall for it anymore, is because I don't think he makes a distinction between, Putin and Medvedev, even like as human beings per se. Like Putin's the one with power, but Medvedev was president, and so it's sort of equal status, whatever. And I think he takes those. That's why he's moving, subs closer to Russia, allegedly again, under just from an insult from him. And so I think there is a Lucy with the football aspect with Trump and these, but you have to keep priming the pump if you want it to work. Like the reward has to get higher. You're not going to just fall for it over and over again. And for a long time, I think the reward was already there. He backed him on loans. He was covering stuff. Maybe he's got compromise. Maybe that's what we're up against, and that will never change. But it seems like, and it's materially, there are changes happening around Ukraine, which are pissing off MAGA and all these folks, that he's kind of recognizing that it's embarrassing to him, that his ego is on the line, that Putin is using him, and that's the one deal they promised. This is the moment where Putin is hiring people away from Mar-a-Lago for him, where it's not about him being a creep, because who cares, right? It's he's doing this. He's having these changes because how dare you make me look like an idiot in front of my people? There's that, that story in Maximum Golf, this guy writing an article about Donald Trump in Maximum Golf, talking about the time that Jeffrey Epstein flew on Trump's plane, which was not the only time, by the way. Multiple times he flew on Epstein's plane, or Epstein flew on his plane, rather. And Trump is not... during the flight, stomping around going, what the heck is he doing bringing this underage girl on my plane? What the hell, dude? He's not doing that. The moment where he's mad is, you can't be late for somebody else's plane, Jeff. And he's saying it out loud to whoever's there when Epstein wasn't there yet. He's walking up, he's pacing the aisles going, you're making me late, right? You don't be late for other people's planes, Jeff. That was the thing. And he didn't say it to him when he showed up. According to the writer, he didn't go, Jeff, what'd I tell you? Dude, he clammed up when Epstein showed up. He can say it in front of other people like he's the boss, but as soon as Epstein showed up, zip. And there's, so this, there is a point where if he knows he needs an exit strategy, he will take advantage of it, even if the downside is bad. And I've said, look, the reason why this Epstein stuff, why Trump is not releasing it, is because no matter what the fallout is with MAGA, no matter how awful people turn on him and vilify him, Tucker Carlson to Candace Owens to whoever, and they just light him up, even if it costs them the midterms, even if it costs the next Republican the presidency, whatever's in the files, the videos, the photos, the notes, the calendar entries, is worse. That's why it's not coming out. No matter what MAGA says, no matter, they hate him, he doesn't need their votes ever again, and they're not going to stay in his properties. They're a bunch of poor white trash. You think those people are going golfing with him anytime soon? Forget it. Whatever's in the files is worse than whatever he could experience in this blowback. And he doesn't care about Pam Bondi and Patel and Bongholio looking like idiots, because whatever's in the files is worse. And the only thing we have to decide about Vladimir Putin is, does what Putin have on Trump, no matter what happens geopolitically in the world, is what Putin has on him worse? Does he have copies of all that stuff? And again, where did Epstein send his money through when he was on his way out the door? Did he transfer it through the Caymans? Did he run it through a Swiss bank account like old school villains did back in the 80s? No. Transferred his money through Russian banks. $1.1 billion in the last week he died. He finalized moving a bunch of money, and it went through Russian banks that weren't currently under sanction.
And he can talk tough about being really hard on Russia and the Kremlin as much as he likes, but until we actually see developments on the ground, and by that I mean weapons. I don't mean some sort of negotiate or sanctions or some sort of forced negotiation with Putin until we actually see weapons arriving in Ukraine. I'm still going to be like, you are dancing to you're dancing to Vladimir Putin's tune.
Agreed. Let's take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Let's see if this... Trying to move this down here so we can show. Yeah, there we go. Whew. That's a big damn number. Mm-hmm. That is insane. That is like... And any of the I don't know, Sachs or Ritter or any of these people that are defending Russia and going, Ukraine has no chance. Like, dude, they're using, drones, and they may have gotten weapons from elsewhere, but they're doing the fighting, man. There's not NATO troops on the ground secretly fighting it for them. Like, this is a smaller country, of about, I don't know,
Back
40
in
million
20.
people, invaded by a much bigger country. Thank you. Much bigger country. And the bigger country is getting its ass handed to it.
They've taken, and that cost is for a size of territory of like Rhode Island.
Yes,
it's just insane.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. 'Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! Hooray!
There's a, there are a lot of things that are kind of like, it's one of those jump ball weeks where there's so much up in the air that it's, it is, and it's hard to even get a grasp. You're kind of like in the middle of a story because of the nature of as the arc of stories follow. Like right now, as of yesterday and the day before, Russia is either no longer allowed to sell oil to India. India is no longer buying Russian oil, even though Russia is willing to sell it, or India is still buying Russian oil under the table, or India has stopped buying Russian oil and is buying U.S. oil instead. It's all over the map. And I think it's the very nature of this conflict. And you've also got politicians who have to tell their people different stories. We're being tough. I'm not letting him push me around is a big part of this story, right? And that's a rough one, if it contradicts the facts, right? If you don't, so again, does the average maggot care about whether or not the Indian oil story is true coming from Trump, or whether they're, if you found out they were buying it under the table, they'll just go, they would have done it anyways. But Trump, he's threatening them with a tariff that'll scare them. So, which again is, it's like all these tariffs are like, everything's exempt except 4 kinds of cheese that we don't eat here or we have too much of.
Right.
It's so stupid. Yeah. And they're like, look, the tariffs aren't affecting anything. Like, yeah, they're also not bringing in any money that will chart at all. That's why he brings up these like weird investment things for, the Japanese investment fund or the Middle Eastern investment fund, or like they're going to invest a bunch of money in America. When? Sometime over the next 10 years, if they have to, if they still have it, if they still exist, whatever. It's like it gets cartoonish. Well, it's already cartoonish. It just gets dumber by the day. Yeah. But in this particular case, I think maggots just kind of shrug it off. If people do stuff, it's because Trump told them to, and they're scared of him. If they don't do it, it's because they would have done it anyways, and the deep state runs things anyways, and there's a uniparty, and Trump's trying his best, and God sent him here, and it's probably the end of the world anyways. Like, it's amazing how quick they fall back on that crap. All right. Now, so if you can find out, Phil, anywhere in there, if anybody there knows what sanctions are actually holding and what aren't. And also, if there's anything we can do at this current point in terms of Ukraine, other than in the midterms, vote for sensible humanitarians who actually give a crap about human life, and do the same in 2028. If there's anything in the interim, please let us know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Weapons. Mm-hmm. More weapons.
All right. I'll be in the garage. So, Johnny, what other questions do we have?
I've got one from 56 Nick Rich. Any more trouble for Zelensky since the protests? More Russian propaganda to discredit him?
The anti-corruption scandal or controversy or whatever you want to call it has probably been the most damaging thing to happen to Zelensky domestically since the beginning. Well, probably since the beginning of his presidency. I was going to say since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Yeah, it's done him a lot of damage. He has seemingly backtracked on the issue, and there are still divisions in the country about whether or not he was in the right by trying to. The argument that happens on his side of the equation is he was trying to bring in to rein in these different anti-corruption groups because they were being manipulated by Russia, and to bring them into the central government would have enabled Kiev to exert more control over him. The opposition says it's the opposite, that actually these guys needed independence, otherwise they were going to be taken under control of the Kiev government and the Zelensky government, and they wouldn't be able to operate individually, so they would have been subject to the government's control. These are different perspectives, and frankly, I don't know, and all the Ukrainians I talk to don't know either, although they do hold some very, very strong
opinions,
positions about it. Yeah, yeah. But at the end of the day, this division is not good for Ukraine, and I think a lot of Ukrainians, whether they hold on to one camp or the other, at the end of the day have come to the conclusion of like, now's not the time, that we need to, keep a unified front against the real enemy, which is Russia.
Right.
Although I have to admit, I know Ukrainians who are like, Zelensky should abdicate, he should leave, he's or there's another kind of kind of conspiracy theory atmosphere here, in that there's a belief that the West is trying to force Zelensky out so that they can find somebody more manageable who would negotiate with Putin and just end this thing. So there's this there is this, and I don't know if I believe it or not, but I do know that it exists, in that it's kind of like the West told Zelensky, or the West is working to get rid of Zelensky so they can replace him with somebody who will be more compliant to giving up things that Moscow wants, so that this thing just ends. I don't know if I believe that or not, but I do know that sentiment and that belief is here.
Yeah, I think I think there may have been a window for that at some point, and it usually takes those kind of talking points a while to work their way to the surface, and get to the public. But right now, you could look at his meetings with van der Leyen and the Europeans, and their attitude about Trump would be enough to put a pin in that. I think, at least for the time being, is that would be seen as not as much. Excuse me. I'm going to sneeze, I think, but capitulating to Trump as much as Putin.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of Ukrainians who would be furious if that's the way things progress. So I know. Look, here's the problem with Ukraine. Ukraine's a democracy,
right?
Russia is not a democracy, and with a democracy as flawed and as just trying to get on its baby feet, on its baby legs, it is still a democracy. So you've got people who believe all sorts of different things in Ukraine, and who are acting on that. They take to the streets with those beliefs. They exert, they express their will with those beliefs. And so, Zelensky and the ruling powers that be in Ukraine and the different factions that exist in Ukraine are all trying to maneuver around a body politic where people have actually the ability to exert their will, either in the ballot box or taking to the streets. And so they have to manage a population. Russia doesn't really have that problem until it overflows. And then Russia has that problem, but by that time it's already too late.
Yeah.
Russia's revolutions, and when Russian opposition takes to the street, it's usually pretty much halfway over.
There are two things that I think also should give us a little bit of hope, although I don't think Hegseth is going anywhere. anytime soon. I think the general attitude towards him has become so toxic, even in Trumpdom, that it's certainly not like one of the things you worry about people who are unqualified to do a job is that they will make a decision at a very crucial time that will harm people or whatever. What we know about Hegseth at this point is that he's either afraid to make decisions and is off-laying them to other people, and maybe that's concerning because we don't know who those people are. Ultimately, it all comes back home to roost for Trump because he can't blame Hegseth because Hegseth is not throwing any of the switches. And then, of course, Trump has ordered the Senate into session, and Senator John Kennedy is calling it organized grab ass. Where they're trying to get his nominees through in a big hurry because the Democrats have been holding them up and will continue to do so. And the problem is they don't even have enough, a lot of the votes on the people that should be easy to get through for Trump. Anyways, thank you so much, Philip Ittner. Take care of yourself and be safe. And we will see you on Wednesday. Johnny Million is going to live stream right after the show, so I'm going to hang out for a couple seconds afterwards and throw people there.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you, Chicago. And we'll
Check
see you
out
guys
the show
next
on
week.
Sunday.
Yes, check out On the Edge.
Yay, Philip. Thanks for being here.
Excellent. Okay. I love the...
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Chicago. The Foghorn Leghorn calling it organized grab ass is pretty hilarious, considering they're just
good.
like all...
Right. I'm going to go set up.
Yeah. Go take care of yourself,
right.
and I'll see you
See you,
guys
Johnny.
later. All right. Off you go. Yay. All right. And I'll open up the chat room. Hi, chat room. Good to see you guys. Welcome. Hello. Yes, everybody's saying be safe, Phil. He just took off. There we go. And then Johnny's going to get set up, and I'm going to hang out with you guys and do kind of an AMA until he's ready to go. I think that's the best plan so far. It's a good plan. I'm sticking to that plan. I think it's a great idea. And I appreciate you guys. They're trying to get Keg's Breath to quit and run for governor of Tennessee. Yeah, I've heard that too. Lure him away. It's almost like get Matt Gaetz out of Congress by offering him the job of AG, and then he will turn it down himself later, right? It seems very similar. It seems like that same exit strategy because I'm off the air now, so everything's a fucking reboot with these idiots. So I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a very strong chance that they're trying to, arrange his departure, in this circumstance, right? And make him leave on his own. We didn't fire him. We didn't quit. He's going to do something great. And, we really support him. And so he'll be a great governor. Like nonsense. And I think almost, how do you like Stratocasters? I'm not actually a fan. I prefer Les Paul's body shape, and my favorite shape. Let's see if this guy's right over here. I have to move it out of the way though because I've got all this stuff here. Is the ESP EC500? This guy right here is my go-to. It's a very pedestrian kind of cheap guitar. It's certainly not. I got my Doug Pinnick strap on. I'll play while I'm waiting for Johnny. I can. I'll play this. I don't know if this guitar's even tuned. There you go. It's Crying in the Rain. There you go. Yeah. So this is actually, I don't have any PRS or Godin guitars. I know people swear by them. I can't stand PRSs. The necks are weird for me. My fingers are not very long. Johnny has big spider fingers, so he can play anything. I have to have a really thin neck. So that's what I looked like first. Look for in a guitar is that it has to fit my hand, right? So yeah, give us the 035. Yeah, John Sykes. Oh God. I'm no Johnny Million, but you know, I can hold down the fort, as we like to say, when it comes to playing. You got to be able to hold down the fort. You get like if when Johnny can't, he's changing guitars and like, oops, we need a solo. Okay, well I can't do what he could do, but. Yeah. So, yeah, Cliffs of Dover, please. I'm not that good a player. That's not my thing. What was it saying? Sorry. Hello and goodbye, everyone. I made it time to watch Alice Blayla. Love and hug to you. Thanks. Right back to you. Is Nerd Halen ever coming to Detroit? We may be coming to Maryland. I'm waiting right now. That's our first East Coast thing, and if we can hang that one date, I want to say it's in November, but I could be wrong. There's a Maryland date that Caleb's working on. If we can make that happen, that means we can add like DC, maybe even New York, Jersey, that kind of stuff. So, thanks, Sally Osher. That's what I was looking for. What I'm trying to do is, yes, Chicago is definitely on the horizon for Nerd Halen. What I want to do is do a thing this fall with the station, and then play a Nerd Halen gig that night. I just got to coordinate it both with the station, with a venue, and with Johnny Million to see if he can come and either join us or have Convoy open. I'd love to do a co-gig, and then I think it would be really cool. Throwing this out there, just say it was a dream big, as it were. Somewhere around my birthday, the 23rd, we're doing a tribute to Ozzy at the Ultimate Jam Night. My birthday's on the 25th, so maybe that weekend after, if we could do a Chicago radio thing. Then after that, hold on, I'm going to refresh my page to see if Johnny's popped up there or not. I'm going to raid him directly. Oh, following. There he is. I see him. He's tuning or doing something. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to choose this. I'm going to start the raid on Johnny. And do I hear what? Hold on, let me see what he's playing. Oh, yeah, I hear that.
Trixie, this is Slappy. Slappy. It's a warm-up.
There's going to be a delay, but I'm in the right key, so at least I know I'm in tune. I'm going to start the raid for Johnny Million, and I will see you guys later. But we're going to try and do a Convoy Nerd Halen gig, along with a station show, and you guys can go listen to the music over there. And we'll do that kind of a dual gig. That would be friggin' awesome, I think. Okay, raid now. We're sending 116 people over to his station. Everybody tell him we love him. There he is.
Look at Hal. Thank you, Hal. Thank you, Java Mountain. Raid!
There we go. That's hilarious. The 01 reunion will be there'll be a new formation of 01. Me and a new group of dudes. So anyways, enjoy Johnny Million. That's him playing in the background live, by the way. If you go over to his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/housepark, or sorry, it's Johnny Million. Sorry, that's out of habit. It's Johnny Million. You'll find him over there. Subscribe over there. You can gift subs and support his channel. You can do the same thing for me. You can. There you go. He's doing shout outs to everybody. It's beautiful. Somebody tell Johnny I'm playing along with him on my channel.
Oh, me, boater. Ghost of Bobby. It's actually Aaron.
So, I don't even know if that's in time, so it's because it's different from my headset and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, you guys are wonderful. I will talk to you guys later. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. I'm going to let him go. It's Johnny Million. You got it. There he goes. All right. Hit that like, share the show. See you later.
Polar mode, 2 of the 3 games were amazing.
There we go. Hold on. I've got to play over here. What are you doing? Doesn't like my fingers all of a sudden. That's funny. There we go. Now, sorry, I gotta have my own music on the way out as well. Let's go to I'll do the other Scottish name. All right, thank you guys so much. See you later. That's me playing along, just being a jerk. I'll work on it.